Hi, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas. I've got a free pick coming up on the Florida-Alabama game Saturday. First, I'm off a 9-4 Sunday in all sports, along with a 30-12 college basketball run. Last week, I hit my NFL mismatch game of the month with the Giants, a 27-13 winner. This weekend, I've got my NFL home field game of the month. It's $25 on Vegas Sports Masters, but you can get it for $10 along with a bonus basketball play tonight by calling 888-777-4155. Now, the free pick on the Florida-Alabama game. The gig rivalry. It's big. It's big rivalry. A game between two talented defenses. Florida is number 6 in the nation defensively in yards allowed. Alabama is number 1, of course. They always seem to be. Florida is on a 5-0 run under the total. Bama is 4-1 under the total in their last 5. Look for more field goals than touchdowns. Free play, Florida, Alabama under the total. And stay tuned as I will break down some more plays for the weekend, including a look at the Clemson Virginia Tech game.
Hey, welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the longest running sports handicapping show in America. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look ahead to the College Bowl Championship weekend, plus get to Week 13 of the NFL. First, Jim, if people subscribe to the channel, that's free, and they get great stuff for free as well.
Absolutely, Dave. Go to ProlineTV.com, click on the subscribe button. You'll get notifications on new videos, plus you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
All right, so let's take a look at our Proline poll question of the week, and a topic that everybody's been talking about who follows college football, and we've discussed it on the show over the past weeks. That's a few weeks. That's the college football playoff, and the systemic problem that's likely to happen this year with Ohio State probably getting in without even making it to their conference championship game. There is a bit of an issue there. So we asked our audience with this week's Proline poll question, how many teams do you feel should be in the college football playoff? The choices were 4, leave it as it is, 8, where the top 2 seeds get, or 6 rather, where the top 2 seeds get a first round bye, 8, or 16, where all the conference champions, even the smaller conference champions, get in, and they have an at-large selection for the rest of them, and it's a long process. But the results come up.
Well, the good question. What were the results? 59% of the audience voted 8 teams, and I agree with that, Dave. I think 8's the right number. I think we talked about it before. I thought you thought the same thing. You go to the NCAA basketball championship. That's probably the best system I can think of. Right. But you can't do that with football. You can't do it. I mean, they can. In basketball, you could play every day. You can, if you want, you can play 2 games a day. You can't do that in football. No. Injuries and all that other stuff going on. But I think 8 would be better. This controversy here with Penn State and Michigan and the conference championship and all that, I mean, it's a mess. Because it's always going to be a mess at the last teams that come in.
The problem, but here's the problem. When you get 8, you wouldn't have this particular issue because whoever wins the Penn State-Wisconsin game would be in.
Right.
And they deserve to be in. You win the Big Ten, you should be in. Ohio State shouldn't be in. And again, I've said this a few times. If you're asking me whether I think Ohio State belongs in terms of their ability on the football field, whether they're one of the 4 best teams, yes. Without question, yes. They are one of the 4 best teams. But they didn't win their conference, and they didn't even make it to their conference championship game. And if Penn State happens to win this weekend, that means Ohio State could end up getting in ahead of a team that they lost to in the regular season and ends up winning the Big Ten. I mean, at least if Wisconsin wins, now you get an argument because Wisconsin will be the champion, but Ohio State did go into Wisconsin and win in overtime earlier this season. So, but to me, if Penn State happens to win this game, there's no way Ohio State should be in this Final Four.
The reason we have a championship playoff system is to try to pick the best team at that time. You go through a whole season, starts in September.
But you got to win your way in.
You got to win your way in. However, teams in August and September and October are not the same teams that they end up now. So when you look at the NC2A championship for basketball, it's the teams that, not necessarily the team with the best record, it's the teams that are good then.
Right.
So if you go by that, the teams that are good right now, I'd have to consider USC.
Well, USC would be one of the top four.
USC would be one of the best teams in the country.
But unfortunately, they don't get in. They're not in their conference championship game either.
No.
So to me, it's basically it's the same rationale. And I know people look at USC and say, "Well, they lost 2 games in, and also they get destroyed by Alabama." True enough, but I'll tell you USC might be the second best team in the country right now.
Well, Alabama might destroy everybody they play, but that's a different ball game. But USC, I like USC a lot. But they're not going to be there.
No.
It's a flawed system. But you know what? If you go back a couple of years, it's a whole lot better than it was.
It's better than it was, but it's still we still end up with the same issue that we used to have this weekend, or once these games are done, which is a team that is getting voted in strictly on opinion. Opinion isn't supposed to matter. That's why if you go to 8, then all the conference champions, the major conference champions, look, I'd love to include the Mountain West and the Sun Belt and the AAC, but the fact is it's not basketball and they can't play every week, so you can't go that deep. 8, we get the major 5 conference champions are in, 3 at-larges, in which case nobody at all would be arguing about Ohio State or USC, and then you got yourselves a real playoffs. All right, we want to thank everybody for participating in this week's poll question and remind you that we will post a new Proline poll question every Monday morning on our respective social media networks, and the results will be announced right here on this show.
And if you'd like to send us a suggestion for Proline poll questions, you can do that. Any questions about the selections or service packages, send direct message to Twitter or on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and we'll get right back to you.
All right, so let's look at one of the games that does matter this weekend.
It does.
Clemson will be in the Final Four if they win this game against Virginia Tech, and they're a fairly substantial
we're looking at 10 and a half, total 58. When you look at the stats of this game, I mean, it's just, they're so much better. I mean, in the stat department, they deserve to be a 10-point favorite, but it's a neutral site.
Virginia Tech's got nothing to lose.
They got nothing to lose. They're dangerous.
Yep.
They're coming on strong, and it's a tough spot to lay 10 points.
One thing to remember, Virginia Tech's coming off 6 really good quarters in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, they played a terrific second half at Notre Dame. They were down big in that game and ended up with the win. And they looked powerful against Notre Dame in the second half. No problems last week against Virginia in that rivalry game. They're much better than the Cavaliers, but they took care of business as well. And they're a very capable football team. So this isn't a walkover for Clemson by any means. They're a good-sized favorite. I don't have any argument with that, but I don't think it's going to be just a walk in the walk in the breeze.
I said when you don't. I mean, it is a neutral site, so you're not looking at the home team here with all the crowd and all the other things that go with it. Neutral site. Basically, if this game then was in Clemson, they'd be a 13, 14-point favorite. That's a big number, 2 touchdown favorites.
That's a lot to give to a very capable Virginia Tech team.
It is. Usually in these kind of games, I look for the dog. I'm not saying I'm going to go that way, but it sure is tempting to take the, 10 points, 10, maybe even 11 by game time.
You would think there's going to be some points scored in this game as well.
Yeah, you would.
Although, when they meet, for those who like history, when they meet, 5 of the last 6 have gone under. And sometimes when it looks like a cinch over on paper, doesn't always play out that way.
Well,
especially in a playoff game.
The pressure on the, Clemson to get in the big playoff.
This is a playoff game for Clemson.
It is. It's part of their whole package.
Right.
They got to win this to get there and then have a chance to win the whole thing.
Of course, the good thing for Clemson is they've got a lot of experience in this because they made it to the championship game last year.
That's
so
right.
They've won big games when they've mattered under this administration, Coach Swinney and the players.
And they got Watson, who a lot of people thought was a Heisman Trophy winner.
Phenomenal last year.
Absolutely.
Almost won it by himself against Alabama.
That's right.
And he's shown himself to be a very good big game quarterback. This is probably, of all the games that are on the schedule this weekend, as far as championships, I'm not going to play them all, but I think this is the one I have the least amount of interest in playing. I think the number to me, looks like it's about where it should be. If I had to play it, I think I'd probably take Virginia Tech and hope for the best.
You would lean to that in a situation like this. All the pressure is on Clemson. A lot to lose. The other team is they're freewheeling. If you made this game 7,
well, that's a different story.
Then it's a different story. But when you're talking 10, you got a stopper number there,
yeah.
and you're might be looking at 11 by the time game.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I think the favorite will draw. We know the favorite's going to draw public money.
It will.
I'm not seeing where the sharp action thus far has shown on the dog.
Well, this thing did open 9.5, and it's up to 10, 10.5 everywhere.
But I think that's. I don't think that's.
That could be public.
Yeah. Look, if you want to ask us any Vegas sports wagering questions, go to ProLineTV.com and drop us a line. Doesn't cost anything. And speaking of not costing anything, be sure to hit the subscribe button to get 7 days of action free.
And go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, my fast facts, which are absolutely awesome for college basketball, and plays from the nation's top handicappers.
When we come back, we're going to look at Week 13 of the National Football League, including a big game featuring two teams with serious playoff hopes, the Bills, who have come on, and the Raiders, who plenty to talk about on the Raiders, so stay tuned.